Good day and welcome back to my channel, The Queen Phoenix. This is today's little video. We're going to make the stuffed strawberry keychain. So you will require two different colors of yarn. You can either stitch or glue this part on when you are done, and some stuffing. Please make sure you have the appropriate size crochet hook and a pair of scissors and a darning needle. If you don't have a darning needle, your crochet hook works just as well. So let's make this. For all intensive purposes for this video, I am using this color because red does not look good on the actual recording. So you're going to start this with a magic ring or a magic circle, and you're going to secure it with the chain 1. Now you're going to make the following cluster. Yarn over, pull it up just a little bit, go into the magic circle, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. And repeat. Yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop. You will see you have 2, 4, 6, 7. Yarn over and go through all 7. Chain 1. And we're going to repeat that 3 more times. Yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all of the loops. Chain 1. Repeat that. Chain 1 and your last cluster. Chain 1. Pull your tail nice and tight. Now, you're going to bend your work inwards. So it's like that. So you've made your chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch into the first cluster. Let's put it into the very first stitch, the top, the stitch right here, the top of your chain of your first cluster. Yes, I know this looks nice and tight, but trust me, you'll make it. Chain 1 into your chain, slip stitch into your chain 1 space. Chain 1, make a cluster into that chain 1 space. Again, yarn over and go in 3 times with the yarn over. Oops, let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, and pull through. Chain 1 into the same chain 1 space where you made the cluster. Make another cluster. Another one will definitely fit. Chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, and the repeat for this round, make 1 cluster, a chain 1, and a cluster, all into the chain 1 space. So let's do that together. That's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and another cluster. Chain 1. Repeat that 2 more times in the other chain 1 spaces. You will end this row with the chain 1. Again, slip stitch into the top of your cluster and slip stitch into your chain 1 space. So now you will be able to, if you look inside, actually put your finger inside. It's turning into a little bowl. Right. For this round, chain 1. Make a cluster into this chain 1 space. So there's my cluster, chain 1. In the space, in the next chain 1 space, you're going to make 1 cluster, a chain 1, and into the exact same space, another cluster, and chain 1. Your repeat for this pattern is 1 cluster in the next chain space, in the following chain space, a cluster, chain 1, and a cluster. Let's do that. So here's the cluster, chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, cluster, chain 1, cluster. And you will repeat that until you get to the end of your row, ending with a chain 1. At the end of row 3, slip stitch into the stitch on top of your cluster and slip stitch into your chain 1 space. Okay, before I have a comment on this, excuse me, the nails are slightly red due to the dye that I was using. For row 4, chain 1 and make a cluster into that chain 1 space. For this row, you're going to make 1 cluster in each and every chain 1 space, separated with a chain 1. So chain 1 into your chain 1 space, make a cluster, chain 1. Chain 1 space, make a cluster. Wow, a purple strawberry. 1, 2, 3. You will repeat this until you get to the end of row 4, ending with a chain 1. When you get to the end of row 4, again slip stitch onto the top of your first cluster and slip stitch into your chain 1 space. For row 5, you're going to repeat row 4, which is chain 1, make a cluster in your first stitch, in your first chain 1 space, then chain 1. And make 1 cluster in each and every chain 1 space with a chain 1 in between them. And I will meet you at the end of row 5. At the end of row 5, slip stitch into or onto your cluster. So you'll see you have this hollow space here, and this is how your strawberry looks so far. Now we're going to start decreasing, but first we're going to put a round of single crochets. So into the very first stitch, make a single crochet into that chain 1 space. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet in each of the chain stitches right around. So this is the first decrease round, which is row 6. I haven't stuffed it as yet. I want to just take it a bit more, go a bit more smaller before I decide to stuff it. When you get to the end of row 6, slip stitch into the very first single crochet. So now you can see this hole has shrunk quite a bit and my finger can just fit in it. So now is the perfect time for you to stuff this. You can use any scrap, leftover wool, yarn, material, bits and pieces, or if you have stuffing lying around, even that will do. But stuff this. You can see I've stuffed this with some leftover pieces of fabric that I've had and some yarn pieces. So for row 7, I'm going to make a single crochet together right around. I'm just going to grab a marker here so that I know where I'm making them. So I'm going to put the first single crochet, decrease in the very first stitch, well, stitches, which is 2 single crochets together. 1, 2. Try and keep your stitches a bit tight. I know it gets kind of weird and a bit hard to hold this, so even if you have to put it on your actual surface to do that, will work just as well. I was just trying to hold it closer to the camera. 1, 2, continue your 2 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 2 together right around. When you get to the end of your row, remove your marker. Even if you're using a piece of wool, that's still fine. Cut a tail. Now grab a darning needle, pull your yarn through the last stitch, thread your darning needle. Right. For this row, you're going to pick up the front loops of your stitches that you have. So just pick them up. So you're just going to push through, pick the stitch up, right around, when you get to the end, put your finger on top and pull. Now I'm just going to work my tail in. Don't forget to make a nice knot when you're working this tail in, and I'm going to go down a few rows and cut your tail flush to the body. So I'm pulling my yarn with my left hand. I got my scissors flush, and I'm going to also push down. This is to ensure that the piece of tail actually goes back into this project. Now we've made the strawberry part. Let's make the top part. For the leaf part, you're going to start again with the magic ring. Chain 1 to secure. Chain 2. Into this magic ring, you're going to work 12 half a double crochets. So 12 half a double crochets, please. Once you're done with your 12 half double crochets, pull your magic ring tight, slip stitch into the top of the second chain that you made. Let me just redo that. Now you're going to chain 5. You'll make 1 single crochet in the second chain from your hook, a half a double crochet in the next chain, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches or 2 chain stitches. In the last stitch, you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Let's make that slip stitch. And you're going to repeat this until you have 5 parts of your stem. So slip stitch into the next stitch. Let's do it again. Chain 5. 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. A half a double crochet in the next chain. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chain. Slip stitch into the next stitch on your circle and slip stitch again. Repeat until you get to the end. When you get to the end of your row, cut your yarn and please work your tail away. Let me just grab my darning needle. So work your tail away. I'm also going to work the other tail away. Snip your ends. So you have your strawberry. This goes on top of your strawberry and you can crochet it flat. For the actual hooky, you can make a slip knot. I'm going to leave a nice bit of tail and I'm going to chain about 7. If you want it longer, you can do more. And I'm just going to slip stitch into the very first stitch and cut that yarn. Now I'm going to thread both tails into the eye of my darning needle. I got the one. Let me just get the second one in. Right. So once I have it in, I'm going to go through this hole here. And I'm just going to do a few stitches along here. And you can see I'm using both tails to stitch. A stitch on either side is fine. And here I have the hook part. If you want, which I'm going to use the longer piece of this tail, you can join this to your strawberry at the same time. So of course I'll cut my tail, all of those things, so you can decide how much of stitching you want to do, just to stitch or even glue the leaves a bit down, little bit down or completely down, like this one here. The choice is yours. Don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, like, share, but most importantly, enjoy crocheting. This is the Queen Phoenix, out.